sorry about that abrupt ending there. So what we've really been looking at is the different ways that you can do job analysis, or the different frameworks or the different tools that are out there to actually really make your job analysis a lot more, accurate. So we looked at PAQ, FJA, task inventory, critical incident method, and the last one we're going to look at, which is kind of just a different approach, is actually using an HRIS software that helps us do job analysis. So imagine that there's a software that actually already lists 1,000 different functions that people need to do: collate data, analyze information, deal with reports, and that you literally just can pick and piece together all these different tasks. But some of them are a lot more advanced, and you can actually have them at different levels. So again, they're just tools to help us really get more accurate job analysis done. Yeah. With some of these, they actually do a lot of linking to job evaluation as well, so that you can see, okay, this person analyzes data, but they do so at a level 1. This person does much more vigorous analysis at level 2. Therefore, that could help in job evaluation, which is exactly what FJA and PAQ are doing as well. So a little overwhelming maybe, but just think of it as different tools out there to help us really do job analysis in a very objective way. Yeah. Okay, so as we know, collecting any kind of information is usually very expensive, it's very, very time consuming. But because, again, job analysis is probably the most important function of any HR department, because all the information we gather are going to write our job descriptions and our person specifications, and therefore going to be used for every single function involving that job after that, we got to make sure that the information we collect is really, really accurate and sufficient. So there are a couple of arguments here. Is it best to use a microscopic view, as in, is it best to try and itemize every task or for every job? Because some people's jobs, their tasks actually change. So what does that mean? Do we actually going to keep a track of all the different tasks that people do and every time they change? Or are we going to have a much broader view so that we can, it's not so much how we do things, but in terms of tasks, but what we're actually trying to achieve in the first place. And of course, it's been proven that when people understand why they are doing what they are doing, then it helps. So let's say your job is to collect absenteeism and attendance information from 10 different departments. Don't itemize exactly how that needs to be done, which is what the microscopic view is saying, but actually say that you need to complete a report that needs to be provided to the manager so that attendance can be improved. You need to do that by the second working day of the month or whatever. That frees up the how, but gets into what you're doing. So it's an argument. Do we want to do it like itemize every single task? Or do we want to actually keep it a little bit more broader so that we can be flexible? Some organizations will only collect enough job level data or job data to make generic comparisons with other jobs. Now, here's my concern with this. If we're just doing job analysis to do job evaluation, then we've lost out the true essence of why we're doing job analysis. Job analysis is to really write the best possible job description. And we should all know by now the importance of having the most accurate, updated job description possible. So if we're only doing it to make comparisons with other jobs, then job description doesn't have to be that great. Yeah. So it's just a thought, and I guess we're talking about this more because it's compensation. Okay. Okay, so in terms of how we're going to actually collect information, we could do it in the conventional method or a quantitative. So let's just fly through these. The conventional method of collecting data is to just simply ask people who are doing the job to complete a questionnaire or to be interviewed. So obviously, you yourself will get a much better understanding of the job if you're dealing with the employee directly. So simple things like, who gives you work to do? Give an example of a particularly difficult problem that you face. Why does that happen? How often does that happen? You can really lead the discussion to where it needs to go to try and find out as much as possible about a job, right? Of course, this is going to take plenty time. And can you imagine you're trying to interview, let's say, 4 legal officers, and it's very possible that they're all going to tell you a lot of different things. As human beings, we may well favor what we like and leave out elements of the job that we don't like or we're not good at. Okay, so be wary of that. Quantitative methods kind of remove some of the subjectivity of the earlier conventional methods one, which of course takes time. So in these days, you're going to go straight to a website. There's going to be a questionnaire online, and it's going to really use quantitative or numerical data to analyze, since it's more objective. So if 6 people say the most important part of their legal officer work is this, and 2 say it's something else, they're going to go with the majority. It's very much going to be a numerical, statistical analysis of the results. Of course, this way, with the use of internet or the website, we can collect data much more quickly. Okay, so how would this work? So let's say I go onto the website. I'll have it divided into different factors, for example, knowledge, accountability, reasoning, communication, etc. And I'm going to ask each of the job holders to assess their jobs or parts of their job in those areas, which is like how important is it, the amount of time spent on it. And basically, the more information I ask in whatever format I want to ask online, the more information I'm going to, or rather data I should say, I get back that I can now analyze and process to really form really good information. Just a little thing to be aware of when we're trying to do any kind of job analysis, that not all the information we collect is going to be the most accurate. So we need to remember that people may well exaggerate the things that they're good at and that they like to do, and omit the things that they don't like. If we only collect, let's say we have, again, let's go back to let's say we have 8 legal officers and we decide, oh, we're going to get information from 2, then that's not a big enough sample. Other realities are, let's say I'm trying to observe someone doing a job and trying to all the tasks that they do. Do I have the time to do that? Do we all do the same thing every day? No, some jobs do different things. For example, if you think of an accounts department, what they do at a month end or the beginning of the next month is very different to what they might do in the middle of the month. Can I actually observe them throughout that whole month? Maybe I'm trying to do a job analysis on a construction engineer, and he is down at the bottom of some foundation of a building doing something. Can I actually really observe him on a job site? If I have no clue about concrete and what this engineer man doing, can I actually really be the best person to kind of determine what his job is? So maybe I'm just clueless. I have no familiarity with the TDRs of the job. And of course, as long as jobs keep changing, that's always going to reflect inaccurately on the information gathered. Right, so let's pull this together. I know it's kind of a lot. Again, the main thing I'm trying to do is make sure we understand what job analysis is and the different ways of doing job analysis. This should not really be too new to people, but how do we actually know if the job analysis exercise was done well or if it was effective? That's when we look at these very important terms, and of course these are important terms for compensation generally. Yeah. So reliability. So that's a measure of the consistency of results amongst various analysts, methods, and sources of data over time. And basically, let's say I had 3 job analysis and they all came up with 3 different job descriptions for one position, then I could say the reliability was not that high. So I really want to be able to kind of minimize the differences, which is why we tend to go into these more supported ways of doing job analysis, like quantitative job analysis. Validity looks at the convergence of results among sources of data and methods. So again, if people are responding in similar ways to questionnaires, then it's more likely that the information I'm collecting is valid. If people respond in a really wide way, or some say this, some say that, then maybe the information I'm collecting is actually not that valid. But the reality is, statistically, this is a difficult one to prove, but we need to at least try to make sure that the information that we are gathering is valid, right? Acceptability is, of course, a big one. The people doing the job and those that are supervising them or managing them, they must be satisfied and accept the data that has been collected and the process that's followed. If they don't believe that the job analysis process was followed properly, or that everybody had a say, or that the data that was collected was inaccurate, then they're not really going to take on the end result. So they need to accept the whole process. And then, of course, the usefulness, the practicality of the information collected. So we want to make sure that the information we collect actually has produced a really good job description. And then, of course, from a compensation point of view, can now go on to a good job evaluation exercise to help determine how and why we're paying people. So let's just say you're an employee, you have been the subject of a job analysis and job evaluation exercise, and you think, you know what, they didn't really listen to what I had to say. I find they took on this girl more than me. I find that even though half of us say this was important, they're not saying that this is important. I'm not really good with how they do this whole thing. Then bet your bottom dollar you're not going to be happy with the result of the job evaluation exercise either. Y'all with me? Because it's the whole process, as far as you're concerned, was not done well. So when they come to say that one job should be paid higher than the other, you're probably not going to be that happy, unless it's, of course, favorable to you. Right, so that is it so far, right? The last thing is to really look at what the job description should cover. It definitely should have a job title, some sort of job ID section, the essential functions or TDRs, which are the responsibilities and the results. And then, of course, the personal job specification, which is looking at the skills required to do the job. So when we look at person-based analysis, you'll remember way back in this seminar, at the start of this lecture, I said that there were two ways of doing this. We could look at actually analyzing the job itself, the TDRs, which is what we've looked at, or we could look at the person and the skills required of the job. So when we get into this more about job specifications or person specifications, that's when we'll look at that when we do person-based analysis rather than what we just did, which was job analysis. Whew, I'm sure you're like, oh God. Okay, so let's just get clear what we did. We're trying to make sure that we understand the importance of job analysis, which is going to give us the really well-written, up-to-date, accurate job descriptions, which means I can really do a good job evaluation exercise to work out the differentials in pay. So job analysis is like key to me being able to actually define a structure, in this case a job-based structure, so that I'm trying to work out where jobs should lie on my structure based on my job analysis and my job evaluation. So all I did was go through quite a lot of detail of what job analysis is, the different types of job analysis, a lot about the different information and if the information is going to be valid or reliable or useful, just so that we get how important this is. If I do not have accurate job descriptions, please understand that whatever I evaluate is not going to be accurate when I'm actually determining where positions should lie in my organization structure. So job analysis is like your best friend when you're dealing with compensation. You have to be so completely confident that your job descriptions are up to date. Now, just remember that in any organizations, they're restructuring. As strategic objectives change, the organization may restructure, jobs may change, which really means that a lot of what you do is going to be spent, a lot of your time is going to be spent updating job descriptions. That's a big part of this. And again, when jobs change, it's possible that compensation needs to change. So we got to get this right so people feel that we are treating them fairly and equitably. Okay, thanks much.